Pikmin 4 is finally out, and we've had a lot of time to enjoy it, and I've basically done everything in the game there is to offer. So, me and my friend decided to rank all the Pikmin types from all of the games, including Pikmin 4, based on how much you want to use them and how useful they are overall. We had a lot to say, so this video is pretty long, and there's a lot of us arguing about our opinions, but it's still pretty fun, and I would encourage sticking out to the end because there's a lot of Pikmin talk. If you like this video and you want to see more Pikmin content, which I am working on, go ahead and subscribe and enjoy the video. So, we are here with a Pikmin type tier list, including Pikmin 4, because I'm here with my friend who was in the Persona intro ranking video, by the way.
Indeed. I
And
find it funny. I find it kind of funny how I was a Persona and Pikmin fan before you and got you into both of them, and now they're two of your favorite franchises.
for real, it's
I'm
just the
just the
way of the
mentor at
world.
this point.
Just the way of the world. But yeah, we're here ranking all the types from all the games, including Pikmin 4, because we have both 100% the game, and it's
Indeed.
incredible. It's an incredible game.
Oh yeah, best game of all time.
Just ever. Just best game ever. Okay, so the best tier is have them at all times. Basically, the things you're gonna want to have all the time. Yeah.
I was thinking the most obvious choice for that tier is certainly purples and two.
I would argue against that, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And then of course, good to have a large majority of the time. That's where I'd put purples in too, but we'll get there when we get there.
Interesting.
And then the next we have good when you have them but not used all the time, which is where I was about to put blue Pikmin from Pikmin 1. Highly situational but good at what they do. Extremely situational. And then of course
This
utter
is like
garbage.
yellows in 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and then utter garbage. So Pikmin
So
or
before we
purples in
start
3.
anything, we're putting purples and whites from 3 in utter garbage. Enough said.
Yeah. Enough said. Because if you're unaware, I mean I talked about it in my I'm gonna have to scroll down a little bit to do it. Okay. I talked about it in my my Pikmin series analysis video, which you should go watch by the way if you haven't.
You should go
But
watch that.
basically these were only in the mission mode, and they were basically all of their uses were taken away. Purples, the only thing they had going for them was carrying. They could carry things.
Yeah,
And then
purples are slightly better than whites. Whites are just winged Pikmin that can't fly.
yeah, basically, because they're
They're
fast,
awful.
but they also don't have their poison, so it's like you're never gonna like want to use them really. I feel like if they weren't used just in the mission mode, you could make an argument that they could help, but they're barely used at all. You don't even really use them against enemies because like they're not in many stages where there's enemies. Just enough said. Enough said.
Yeah, there are a lot of Pikmin 3 mods that add whites and purples back in, and will there's unused poison hazards in the files, so people have like made uses out of whites. But in the
Yeah.
base game, no.
So blue
Blue
Pikmin in
Pikmin.
1, I would put them in good when you have them, but not used all the time.
Yeah, I'd argue blue Pikmin in 1, for the most part, are the best type of blue Pikmin, besides maybe 4. We'll get there when we
We'll
get
get
there.
there, yeah.
Blue Pikmin in Pikmin 1 have absolutely no competition whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
in Pikmin 2 and 3, you've got, oh, purples are just so overpowered that you can just throw them in the water as long as there's a little bit of if an enemy is just kinda clipping out of the water, you can hit them with impact damage, kill them, and whistle them. And then in 3, there's winged Pikmin.
Yeah.
So, you know, their entire domain is the water in 1. Like, there are so many ship parts that are completely locked off without them. So, yes, they're situational, but I'd argue when you have them, those situations feel like a triumph.
Yeah, because I mean, there's only 3 Pikmin types in 1, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of water in 1, especially in the Distant Spring, which was a complaint I had.
I personally don't
IGN,
mind it.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Pikmin 2, I think they are highly situational, but good at what they do, right?
I agree. The thing about Pikmin 2, you have to take into account that you can use all 5 types in any cave. So in any caves where you don't have Bulbmin, if there's water in that cave, that's like you're gonna have to take at least a few blue Pikmin. I'd argue in Pikmin 2, there are so many caves, there are so many areas where you use blue Pikmin and then they're just like thrown into candy pop LEDs to get purples. 1,000,000%. There,
Yeah.
but there are things like that one sub level of the Dream Den that you're gonna want a good amount of blue Pikmin, and there's not much you can do with your purples. Whereas most of the rest of the game, purples can, with their impact damage, and this is even something that comes up back in Pikmin 4, with their impact damage, they basically absolutely destroy anything, anywhere.
I think blue Pikmin in 2, there's like the submerged castle.
That's true. That's
But
true.
again, that's very situational, right? And then there's
Mhm.
Bulbmin. So the game's basically saying, yeah, blue Pikmin aren't that good, so here's some Bulbmin to deal with stuff.
Indeed, yeah. But the water is still their domain. Big bodies of water cannot be conquered by any other type.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
still very good.
well, we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. Pikmin 3.
Well, we're there.
We're there. Oh, I won't go in the tier. They're extremely situational.
Yeah,
You,
yeah. I'd
yeah,
argue that they're just one tier above, but only in the second half of the Garden of Hope, and that's it. And then otherwise, you never need them, other than like getting one fruit in the water in like all the areas you're backtracking to. Even the
hmm,
Formidable Oak, there's not really any water areas that you're gonna need to use them in. So I'd argue they're really good at what they do. There's just not enough situations where they're able to do that. So like for me, they're kind of in the middle of the two tiers, but
yeah,
lean more towards extremely situational. You're never using them. You use
yeah.
them to build like the few bridges in the Garden of Hope, and then I'd argue winged Pikmin are better to fight the Quagmire Clops.
Hmm. I mean, I did use blues, but I mean that's just because I think you needed them to get up to that area, and
Yeah, and
I
yeah, a
wanted to
lot of
finish.
times you just don't feel like going back to put them away, and
Yeah,
that's the only reason I
I
take
just I
blues.
just wanted to do it in one day, so I just I did that. Blue Pikmin in 4, I would say that they're here, behind ones, but still good when you have them, but not used all the time.
I'd argue they're ahead of ones now that I've thought about it more,
Hmm.
and here's why. Doggy
Yeah,
Paddle makes them better.
it does, which sounds backwards, but
It
it
sounds very
does.
backwards, but we've talked about this a lot. Doggy Paddle, I think, makes Blue Pikmin much better in this game because it flips their it flips their the situation you want them in, right? So in all the other games, it was like the water is their terrain, and the only reason you're ever going to want them is if there's a body of water. Now you can take any Pikmin into a body of water, but you can only throw blue Pikmin. It's like there's a giant pit of lava below you, and all your Pikmin are safe as long as they stay on the paddle. But this is a type of Pikmin that can actually go in the lava, basically. Like if you think about it
Yeah.
that way, it's much more like, do I want to throw my purples and impact damage this thing to kill it quicker, or do I go to the safe route and use blue Pikmin? Which I think in caves where blue Pikmin are recommended, so you're automatically going to be taking them, adds for so much more strategy and makes you actually want to have them a good bit of the time. Would I
Hmm.
put them in the tier above? Maybe. I don't know. It's just there's so many areas where they're recommended, so you're gonna want to be having them that it's just
Yeah.
like they're very, you know, I feel like they're situational, but at the same time, they feel so integral to how the game is built. So I honestly think they should go above Pikmin 1 Blues.
Honestly, I think you've convinced me because another thing is the sprinklers. It's a new mechanic that basically it's like you could just bring in blue Pikmin to deal with everything in there, right?
Mhm.
Or you could turn off the sprinklers, and it just depends on what you want to do.
But it really was like I'm actively wanting blue Pikmin now because there are so many areas where they're just better.
Yeah. So I agree. They are better than one. I wouldn't say they are good to have a large majority of the time, but I think if we add more Pikmin to this tier, it might be towards the top. Yeah, overall mixed bag, but I'd say they got better, right?
Yeah.
They got worse and then they got better. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Next is Bulbmin. Where would you put Bulbmin? Because I'm
Good to
curious
have
now.
a large majority of the time.
That's where I was gonna put it.
Because here's the thing, you literally can't have them at all times. I would like to, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like it's just it it devalues a lot of the other Pikmin at the same time.
Hmm.
So like it's tough, right? So purples are the better fighters, but they're just immune to the Bulbmin are just immune to everything.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is just whenever I have them, whenever I get the chance to use them, I'm actively saying, "Yes, thank God, Bulbmin. This is awesome. Like I can't wait to use them."
So, I agree mostly, right? I think Bulbmin are good, are like great to have when you have them, but you can't have them all the time, which is the issue. Um,
Yeah.
I would say like their best use is the submerged castle, but I don't think like in the caves you'll want them to use with like hazards and stuff. But I honestly just found myself like putting them in candy pop buds by the end because I couldn't take them
Oh
out,
yeah.
and it's like I'd rather have more Pikmin than you know have Bulbmin that I can't take out of the cave.
I think
Okay,
we have our first top tier.
yeah, glow Pikmin are just Bulbmin but better,
They're literally portable Bulbmin. Like
literally.
and they teleport to you.
I here's the thing, that mechanic is not used enough. There's the only thing I'd say about glow Pikmin is that you don't have to use them ever. Other than in night mode, obviously, but like they're the only
I
Pikmin you can use.
I kind of disagree because I think the teleportation mechanic is probably one of their best mechanics because if you switch to Ochi or to the captain, they'll teleport to whoever you're playing as.
Maybe
So,
it's just like a criticism of there's not enough night mode. It's just like it's such a fun mechanic, but it doesn't feel like it's used enough. The glow Pikmin don't seem like they're used enough unless you're going out of your way to do them. But
mhm.
they're really good, right? They're
They're really good
basically
when you use them. I think the teleportation mechanic really set in how good it is when I did the final night mission, right?
mhm.
Because there's the two spoilers for Pikmin 4. If you're a big Pikmin fan, if you have and you haven't played it, and for some reason you're watching this video, click
Still
off now,
click off now.
please.
I beg of you.
Final night mission, right? The two smoky progs. If you
And
if you
and the
stay
Baldy
to
long legs.
yourself, the two smoky prog, right? I was Dandorying the shit out of that. It took me a while to get the hang of it, but it was like send Ochi to go to where one of the eggs is. In the meantime, I'm using my glow Pikmin to get more. Boom! You just gave me the prompt that he's there. Like that. Like that made me realize just how amazing glow Pikmin are.
They also have their charge attack thing where you can stun enemies, which is really
Right, I
helpful.
forgot about that.
I used
Yeah,
that
they're
on the
really
final
good.
boss a lot.
I did not, unfortunately, but I used them on the final boss a lot because they were like Bulbmin and they were immune to everything. All right, I think we have another top tier.
Yeah. Are they above or
I don't know
below
if they're
though?
better than Glow Pikmin.
I'd say no. I was thinking about putting them at the top of this tier, like the very top.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
okay. It's a
just
lot
cuz
it, it's interesting because these are both Pikmin that are basically their whole shtick is just doing what Pikmin 2 did, but better. Because, like, Ice Pikmin are just infinite bitter spray. And they can also freeze lakes and stuff. But, like, because of that, it's so good. Because you can just absolutely obliterate enemies by just freezing them all the time.
actually yeah, I would agree because I was finding myself using ice Pikmin a lot of the times when they weren't needed, right? And
Hmm.
they're also recommended in like almost every area.
I personally found myself in Pikmin 4. no matter what was recommended, actively always wanting ice and purples. More so purples when I got to the end of the game, but I was still actively adoring the ice Pikmin as well.
They're
I
sort
think
of
they're good.
overpowered, but also like sometimes like they're a lot harder to freeze enemies than we thought, and also they can't like freezing over water is used a lot less than we assumed before the game came out.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially since they don't do that much damage on their own.
Yeah, they actually have, I believe 0.5 multiplier, so it's the same as
Yeah.
winged and white Pikmin.
So they don't do a lot of damage on their own, but they can freeze enemies. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty good. Winged in 3, I would put them above Bulbman.
I definitely agree. They might be a have them at all times kind of thing.
You don't really need them for the final boss or like the final area really at all. I
Think
literally
about it this way, right?
Mhm.
Like, you get winged Pikmin, Twilight River, right? Think about how much you're going to want to actively use them once you have them. Like, a lot of different fruits. You don't need them to get it, but they're going to be the best option to get it. You're going to actively want to use them for all of the bosses past when they're revealed, besides the Plasma Wraith, and that's only because of Rock Pikmin. But even then, you're going to want to use them in the Formidable Oak, because anyone can carry Olimar, but nobody can carry them as good as Winged Pikmin can. I mean, think about it.
I don't know. I think they are at the top of this tier. I wouldn't put them at have them at all times, especially since they're kind of unlocked late in the game. You don't use them for a lot of the
Yeah, but
game.
think about how much you use them for 100%. Maybe it's just because I played the Wii U version and there were a lot more fruits you could get a lot easier than you were supposed to, because you could skip the puzzles with Wing Pikmin.
Maybe.
Maybe it's just because I've played the Wii U version more than the Switch version. Okay, I'd be okay with leaving them there for now. For now.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We may
Mhm.
change some things around. All right, Wings in 4, I'd say they're like here. Like they got nerfed. Like they have the same properties, but you don't use them like a lot of the time.
No, I would agree with that, and especially since you get them so late in the game. Like, good lord, I mean, you get them early on, but you only have like 10 for the entire game, and then you get the onion
Yeah.
at like the last bit. So you're gonna
Like
be actively wanting to use them in the last area, but like the credits have already rolled by then. Like, you're really far in. They're very important for the final area, which makes me like where we put them.
next, Puffman. I mean,
Yeah, what do we even? I would just make a tier below that and say literally kills you, because at least the purple and whites are trying.
no, I think the Puffman have a certain level of charm that they don't have to have their own tier. They can just be at the very bottom.
We're basing this tier list based on how much we actively want to use certain Pikmin types. So we have to decide how we want to rank Puffman, because the entire point of Puffman is to go against you. So
I
are we
mean,
ranking
sometimes
it
I
based on how
actively
much
want
we
to see the
actively...
Puffman. Sometimes I actively make my enemies get puffified so that I can see them because you don't see them like at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So like in this
Or should
respect,
we rank, since the point of the Puffman is to kill you, should we rank them based on how much we actively don't want them to be there? Or should we just say they're not even a Pikmin that helps you, it literally kills you?
I think just where we have it is good. I don't think we should disrespect Puffman by putting them in their own tier.
I'm just confused on how you're ranking it though. Like, are you ranking it based on how much you actively want to have Puffman, or how much you actively don't
I
want to
don't
have
know.
Puffman?
I think it's
Because I
at
think
this
we should
point.
decide that.
I mean, I think we're agreeing that it's at the bottom, so I don't think it really matters at this point. It is
Gameplay
a
wise,
crime they didn't come back in Pikmin 4, even though the
it is.
Puffstool's there.
The Puffstool's literally there. It was so. Oh my god.
And they made a Puffstool variant. Spoilers. And
Spoilers.
I would put them here. No, here.
Are
Let
you
me explain.
insane?
Let me explain. I went into detail about this in my Pikmin series analysis, which you should go watch, by the way. And I mentioned how purples are really good, but you don't want to use them. And the Doomsday apparatus is why. You want to have as many purples as you can, so you don't have to grind for them, because that's annoying. So for a lot of the game, you're just not gonna use purples and you will use them, but you're gonna be very conservative with them, and you're gonna like you're just gonna want to have as little die as possible.
I completely disagree with you in every single thing you just said. I I think they should be at least in the top tier because that just makes me want to use them more. Like I'm actively valuing my purples because they are so overpowered. I know I need 100 of them. I might be taking less than I would if I didn't know the Doomsday apparatus existed, but it just goes to show that there are so many reasons why you're going to want purples. The fact that you're going to want to save them. And in caves, there are so many bosses where, like, if you don't have purples, you're just fucked. There are so many enemies that would destroy your entire party if you can't stun lock them. Think about Wollywogs. Think about how dangerous they are in Pikmin 1. In Pikmin 2, get 5 purples and they're done.
It's just our tier list isn't very defined because it's sort of like a mix on how much you have to use them and how much you want to have them, right?
Yeah, it's basically just like the feelings based on in the game they're in, how much I'm actively saying I want to use them on this day. I want to get more. I want this Pikmin, which I think purples are the poster child of that.
I think that this should be at the top of this tier. But I can't put it at have them at all times, even at the very bottom, because I don't want to have them at all times. I don't want to have
See, but I don't
purples
understand that. That doesn't make any sense.
because I don't want them. I don't want them to die. I don't want to have to reset. I mean,
You're gonna get flamed in the comments for this.
look. I mean this is why I said in my video that they aren't unbalanced in Pikmin 2. They're not. I don't think they're that unbalanced.
Can you think of any Pikmin 2 type you're going to actively want more than purple Pikmin at any given time?
I mean, look, I agree. I don't see myself putting any Pikmin 2 type over this. But I can't in good conscience put it at have them at all times because when I played the game, I didn't want to have them at all times. I may want to like here's the thing, you're saying bringing 30. If I'm bringing purples into a cave, especially when I don't have a lot, I'm not bringing that many. If I'm bringing them, I'm bringing a few. Which is it's a weird thing because normally you don't have to save your Pikmin, right? You can just get as many as you want. And even things like whites, they're not as useful, so you don't care really if they lose unless if you lose them unless you lose a bunch. But with purples, it's such a weird dynamic because you want to save them because you don't get that many and you need a certain amount, but they're also very useful. So I'd say they are good to have a large majority of the time, but there are some times where it's like maybe I don't want to bring purples into this easier cave where I know I'm just going to beat it anyways just in case, I accidentally lose one, then I have to reset and that's annoying.
We should move it to the top tier for now, and we can decide.
Okay. Purples in 4, I would put them above purples in 2. And that's simply because the dynamic is gone. They may
The dynamic
not,
is gone. Once you get the onion, the dynamic's gone.
and even then, the game is much easier than Pikmin 2, especially when you get purples, right?
Yeah, the purples are so overpowered in 4. Like, their damage output is nerfed, but I don't think their impact damage is nerfed at all. Like, they can absolutely obliterate, and especially with the onion, you're gonna have so much. Based on pure strength, I think purples and Pikmin 2 are a little bit better, but based on wanting to have them, I feel like considering how much you're gonna actively be fighting stuff in 4 and how like considering the fact you can only take 3 types into specific areas. When I look back at my playthrough of 4, there were many, much more times in 4 that I actively ignored recommendations so I could take purples than times in 2 where I went, oh, let me just fill out my party with a bunch of purples.
See, and that's why I think purples in 4 should be at the very top right now.
I think they should be. I think they should be above glow Pikmin. I'm gonna be so.
That's
real.
what I was saying. They should be at the very top.
Yeah, I we're probably going to get flamed in the comments for this because I do admit, Pikmin 2 purples are technically stronger. But I get, like, the dynamic you're saying, like, I get it. Red Pikmin,
It's
Pikmin 1. I say top of good to have a large majority of the time.
yeah. Here's the thing though. I guess not have them at all times because there are moments where it's like water, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of
There's
moments
a
where it's like
lot of
water
water
and
in Forest Naval and Distant Spring.
and if you're in an area like the Forest of Hope, bomb rocks are much more effective for fighting. You're not gonna want to have them at all times, especially in the Distant Spring, because there's so much in water and there's so much behind specific gates that you're gonna have to wait and clear some paths before you're like, okay, here's an armored cannon beetle in the Distant Spring. Now I think I should take my reds.
Reds in Pikmin 2 are the worst reds.
They're the worst reds, a million percent. I'd say
Are they
highly
above blues?
situational, but good at what they do. Yeah, no, that's exactly where I wanted to put it. Yep.
Yeah.
I think enough said. Like,
No, I mean, like, really, the only situation where you actively want to use them over purples is, the purple dynamic that I mentioned earlier. But also, like,
But I
fire
still feel
hazards.
like there's
That's
no
it.
reason to ever do that because purples are just so overpowered that it's like would you rather lose 40 reds to a Wollywog or lose no purples and just obliterate it?
Reds in 3. I think they are in the same tier. Or no, they're at the bottom of this tier. Because, look, I love Rock Pikmin in 3 because they don't replace reds and they're used differently. There's
Yeah.
much more strategy. Because red Pikmin obviously can stick to things, and while rocks do more damage, they only do impact. They don't
Yeah,
stick.
exactly. I love how that dynamic is utilized in 3. It's probably one of my favorite Pikmin dynamics ever. Because like
Yeah.
we're even probably gonna see like purples in 2 versus reds in 2 very far away from each other.
Yeah.
Once we put rocks in 3, you're gonna see that they're much closer to reds. Like it makes this better dynamic.
Reds in 4. I've actually changed my mind mid thing. Because I thought of the fire pine cone things. Is that what they are? That you carry around? Reds in 4 have the most uses that they'd ever have. But you're not gonna want to have them. Because if this was based on how much they're used, purples would be at the bottom, right? But that's not what this list is. This list is more of like,
this is how much you're actively saying I want this type with me right now.
which I think it's just below. I actually think it's just below red in 3. Well, actually, maybe we should put it a little bit higher because of Olimar's shipwreck tail.
I think Pikmin 3 reds are better than Pikmin 4 wings.
I think you're right.
Wings kind of got a huge nerf. Like, you're going to be actively wanting wings in a lot of situations, especially like Trial of the Sage Leaf. But you're only going to be actively wanting them in caves that are like designed for them. Whereas 3, you're going to be wanting them just because this is an enemy that I think impact damage could work on. This is an enemy impact damage can't really work on. Let me latch onto it. Like, you're going to be wanting both of those types just in case you're coming across different types of enemies on your path. I think Pikmin 3 reds are better.
I'm willing to agree on that. I'm willing to change that.
It's literally just the change in like Pikmin 3 reds. That is your best fighter for the types of Pikmin that can latch on. In Pikmin 4, that's not the case. Olimar's Shipwreck Tail, it is the case. I will admit, but that's a very small portion of the game.
Rocks in 3, I think they are like, like the top of this tier.
I'd say majority of the time, because think of the Plasm Wraith. Think of like a lot, like most of the enemies you're fighting.
I didn't
in
consider
4.
the Plasm Wraith. Should I put above Bulbmin? They're below Winged. I just don't know if they're above Bulbmin or not. I'd say they're above Bulbmin. They're used a lot more in the game than Bulbmin.
Yeah, I think that's...
You get them at the very beginning.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good... Yeah, definitely.
In 4, They're in this
Yeah,
tier. I
they're
just
very
don't know where.
they got nerfed heavily.
Where here though?
High up on it.
High
The
here.
highest it can possibly go. I'd say in between those two tiers, honestly. Like if I had that much like
Yeah.
if I if we could make a tier in between just for rock Pikmin and 4, I would. Like I feel like they're highly situational but very good at what they do. It's like when you're rushing with Ochi, boom. You're if you have a lot of rock Pikmin, they're going to obliterate anything in their path. The problem
Yeah.
is purples have impact damage, just like rocks, and latch on damage. Purples are literally just rocks and reds combined. So they make both by proxy less important. And I'd say reds are just a little more utilized because you have that new mechanic with the pine cones. Whereas rocks are like there's a few enemies you have to use for them, and there's a few rock walls you want. So like if you have to use them, you're going to want to use them probably more than any other type you have in that cave.
Hmm.
But if you don't have to use them, just take purples. I will say we might want to move wing down a tier and maybe even put rock above wing. Like there. I think that's good.
Because yeah, I mean, you get rocks a lot, or you get rocks in like you just get more rocked Pikmin in general in caves before you
Yeah.
get the onion.
Mhm. Yeah, you
So yeah,
get
I agree. I was thinking about changing
Wings
that.
got shafted hard.
Yeah, I mean, look at the difference. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, both of them did, but
Mhm. But it's not as bad as
I think I
like
actually might want to
how
move these here.
I
Good, they're
hmm,
because they are good when you have them, but not used all the time.
that's true. Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say rocks are situational because you don't really
Yeah.
need them in a lot of situations, but when you have them, when they're recommended or when they're in a Dandori or something, they're good to have. All right, whites in 2, I'd say they're like here.
Extremely situational. Yep.
Below? Yeah, below.
Um, I I'd argue above because you get them a lot earlier, and you're actively wanting to
True.
use.
And they're
You're
the
not
only ones that
actively
can dig
wanting
up
to.
treasures.
Yeah, you're not actively wanting to use them, but there's a lot of situations. There's much more situations where you're like, wait a minute, my treasure radar's going off, but nothing's here.
And there's
White
more there's
Pikmin.
like poison hazards and stuff in the caves too
Yeah, like
that you can
I take
destroy.
like 5 white Pikmin into every cave just in case there's buried treasure, but that's the only reason I ever actively want them.
Whites in
White
4.
Pikmin in 4. I have no idea.
Look. Look. Whites got buffed, okay? Whites got a buff. There are poison enemies. There's more poison like hazards on the ground. I mean, really name an area. I think white Pikmin are used more in the primordial thicket than combined in Pikmin 2. But you don't want to
Sure.
actively use them otherwise. Maybe this. Maybe there. Maybe not that high.
I'd argue Wing Pikmin have a lot more stuff that they can do that no other Pikmin can. But at the same time, I feel like I was actively using whites a lot more because I just wanted to, because there was.
Maybe I'll put them at the bottom. I don't know. I'm thinking about blues now. I think my opinion has changed.
I was kind of thinking wings and whites in Pikmin 4 are kind of tied.
But also, I don't think I can put the white Pikmin in 4 over the blues and reds in 2.
I let's see. But blues and reds in 2, they're very like situational, as it says. It's one of
But
those
they're
things
good.
where
But
it's
they're
like,
better at what they do than whites.
I guess so. But at the same time, like think about what do red Pikmin do that purples can't?
Fire hazards.
Fire hazards don't stay on forever. You can wait until you off use purples. You absolutely cannot use reds.
Look, I said if I was taking that animation, I would put red lower. So it goes back to the controversial argument.
Yeah,
So that has
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of Pikmin can do what reds can do in Pikmin 2, but I feel like there's not much of a reason to actually want reds.
Okay, listen. If you're willing to keep this where it is, these here, I will put 2. I will keep 2 here, and we'll end the discussion there about 2. Because I've said what I had to
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
Since this is a combined list.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I like where we are. I'd change a few placements, but like this is about my opinion.
Now yellows, the most I don't know, the
This is
most
weird.
like weird type.
Yeah, this is odd.
They've gone through the most changes.
What do we think? Highly
Yellow's in one.
situational, good when you have them, but not used all the time, I think. Like, when you have yellows, it's like, "Oh, just blow up this fucking enemy."
Yeah, I'd say they're like at the bottom though.
Yeah, definitely. But I would also say Pikmin 1 yellows beat everything in the tier below them, definitely. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
Like,
would
they
put them
definitely,
I
yeah.
would put them lower like I would put them lower. I'd put them below wing, but I'm yeah. I can I can live with this.
I mean, I'd like to hear your argument then, if that's what you're thinking.
Because like here's the thing, you can blow up enemies, but like really most of the time like bomb rocks just they're not really used that much in general in the Pikmin series. Like, especially, like, here's the thing. If you're in the Forest Naval, you're not going to want to use the bomb rocks to fight enemies. You're going to want to use them to destroy, like, the 27 bomb rock walls across the
Right,
entire
and
map.
that's what I was saying earlier with the red Pikmin. So, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Also, notice how the Pikmin 1 types are so close together?
Because it's the most balanced game in the
It's
series.
definitely the most balanced game. Yeah, no, I agree now
Do we
that
want to
I've
move
thought
it
about
down?
it. I think we should move it
I would
down.
put it below winged, honestly.
It's like they're both types that are just not used all that much besides what you need to use them
I'm going to
for,
put
so
it
it's like,
above.
yeah,
Pikmin 2 yellows
all
are
the way to the top.
the
All the
top?
way to the top.
Like,
Think
above
electricities and I mean, maybe not the full top, but electricities and insta kill.
I'd
Why are
say
you
like
gonna?
here or like in this tier. Good to have a large
I
majority of the
completely
time.
disagree. I think they're at the bottom of the top tier. Literally, my argument before Pikmin 4 came out, when I made this tier list, because I have an earlier version of this, it basically looked exactly like this. We're like, nope, the only two types in the top tier were purples and yellows, and that was the exact order I had them in. And the reason why was because electricity's an insta-kill. I'm not going to waste my time trying to wait out electricity only to have all of my Pikmin get electrified when I can just throw a few yellows at it and it'll be fine. I'm always saying if I don't have yellows currently, like in the Submerged Castle, I always find myself saying I wish I had them whenever I see anything to do with electricity ever.
You're right. I personally would put it at the top of that tier, but I can live with it.
I still think our order in the very tippy top tier is a little we're gonna have to come back to that, but
Yeah, I think glow Pikmin especially might, because you don't use them a lot.
yeah.
You really don't.
It's because we ranked them so early on.
Yeah. And
Glow
cause like
Pikmin might
it's
be
it's only
in
cause
the
like it's only cause like we ranked them early on and I didn't want to put either of these in the top elasticity tier.
maybe we put Glow Pikmin in between the two Pikmin 2 things.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that you're gonna use all the other Pikmin types other than for their hazard in caves.
Fine,
Except for white.
keep it
Except for white.
there. We'll keep it there. Well, fine. 3 yellows, bottom of extremely situational.
Yeah. Yeah. Look how like unbalanced Pikmin 3 is.
It so oh goodness. Same with 2.
I still think I think 2 is the least balanced, but Pikmin 3 ain't that much better.
Now, how are we gonna rank this one?
Um
Hmm. I like the tier, but I don't think I think they're at the bottom of it.
Here's the thing. You know how many areas yellows are recommended? 3 of 6,
3,
half of them.
yeah. 3, okay. I mean,
And you can pull off skips with them.
I just feel like there isn't as much use for them in
I will
4,
put them below
especially in the late game.
blues. I'll put them below blues.
Do we think they're better than blues in 1?
No, I'll put them below both blues. I'll put it there.
Do we think they're better than reds in 3?
Yeah. That's good. That's good where it is.
Do we think they're better than reds in
Yes.
4?
Yes, we do. I do.
Yeah, no, I know, I agree, I agree.
Is this the final list? I think it's the final list. I'm
I
happy
think
with
it's
it.
the final list. I think we're gonna need it to be the final list.
I think it's fine. I think it's good for a combined list. So, yeah. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let us know how wrong we are. I don't know how long this video is going to be because I don't. I want to try to cut out a lot of the arguing. This is our list. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know when this video is going to come out. I'm assuming after at least one of the Pikmin 4 challenges or like speedruns or whatever I'm doing because I have a lot of videos in the works. Um, but yeah,
It's gonna be fun. It's
if
gonna
you're
be
finding
fun.
my channel with this video, I have an analysis on the entire Pikmin series up to 4 or leading to 4. You can watch that. It's about an hour long almost. Um, Presumably when this is up, I have other Pikmin 4 content at least in the works. And I am working on a giant Pikmin 4 video with my friend right here. So
Hi, I'm being Pikmin 4.
again, thank you so much for watching. Go check out my other videos. Go subscribe. Whatever. If you want to if you want to see updates on how videos are going, more specifically with the video essay ones, keep an eye out on the community tab. Hey, so this is editing MJ here in post. There's just one thing I wanted to add. I am starting a new Pikmin marathon sort of thing on Twitch. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm playing through all 4 of the Pikmin games, 100%ing them as fast as possible. I don't really know how to speed run like any of the Pikmin games really, but it's more of like a casual sort of thing. But it's probably going to be turned into a YouTube video, and I'm just going to time my entire run through all 4 games, doing everything there is to do. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a couple streams over the next probably like few weeks. So if you want to check that out, you can watch me live. If you're watching this video when it goes live, I'm most likely streaming it. And if you're watching this a little bit after it goes live, I'm probably still streaming it. But either way, go ahead and check it out if you want to see that. And yeah. And that's all I have to say. Bye bye.